Welcome in Thursday morning edition, Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clark Ford Studio here this morning. Neal is back from Boise, Vegas. Boise.
Boise's cool.
Boise.
I was a big fan of Boise.
Were you?
No joke. Really liked it a lot.
You got back sometime
I was told
yesterday.
I would really like it. Probably liked it even more than I thought.
And
I'd
it was
like
accurate.
It was really. It's about my speed.
Okay.
Me and Boise. If we could have met each other a long time ago, who knows?
Really?
Yeah. Pretty cool place.
Eastern Michigan dominates San Jose State.
They
wins
did.
the Potato Bowl.
They did. I wrote about this in 10 Thoughts. We can talk about bowl games. I think this is going to come across as mean for the people who, because I grew up in a time when bowls were more important than they are today. The bowls now are just nothing more. And I've been to two. They're just made for TV productions, and you can tell it when you're in the building, in the stadium. They're just made for TV. It's a TV deal. ESPN. And it's ESPN for the most part. They need programming to get through these 2 weeks. And bowls are natural.
And you wrote about this, especially the bowls prior to Christmas, because you're not quite ready yet. Even as the consumer, when you're watching bowls, we're still programmed that bowls are New Year's Eve, close to, you know what I mean? Like there is that game's December 23rd. All right, fine. I'm doing shopping. I'm doing other stuff. I'm not worried about UConn and Marshall or whomever is playing there, because you think Vegas will get moved to a more prime spot at some point if bowls continue into their current iteration.
I literally would bet anything on it. It's well run. You could tell being there that it was well run. B, it's Vegas. Like Oregon State had 20,000 people in Vegas. Florida had 20 people. One of the great myths is that Florida is one of the superpowers of the SEC. Florida is not.
Florida is a program that won to huge levels under two coaches.
And their fans don't travel. Oregon State did. They traveled in droves. They're
pumped right now under Jonathan Smith.
Yeah, they partied. I saw Oregon State stuff everywhere in Vegas for 3 days. I saw very little Florida stuff. But the venue's amazing. It's a fantastic fan experience. Yeah, that game will absolutely, no question about it, be a big-time bowl game sooner rather than later. And anybody that, well, the payout's no good, whatever. You're all splitting the money anyway. That game's going to get big. But you see it, though. I was in that arena one day for a college game and the next day for Raiders, Patriots, and just different. It's different. The bowl games are just made for TV events. Like in Boise, whatever you say it, a lot of the restrooms weren't even open. Most of the concession stands weren't even open. Most people in town didn't know there was a game. It's TV.
Yeah, and I guess that's my point, is that, bowl games were kind of neat for two things forever. Especially in the BCS era where they don't dictate rankings. I mean, this isn't 1985 where, hey, the Sugar Bowl gets these two teams, and if you win the national title or something along those lines. It's different now. But it's for fan bases to travel and take trips. Well, again, if your bowl game is on December the 19th, it's right before Christmas. You're not going, hey, let's go take that trip there, versus getting Christmas out of the way, and then you take the trip, as people do when they go to New Orleans or wherever else for bowl games. And then two, we used to do those articles every year. I would do them. Hey, here's what the bowl gifts are. You get the watch and the football and the Best Buy. It's the NIL era, baby. Everybody can get $200. That's not doing anything anywhere. So a lot of the things that were sort of made it, I don't want to say pure or wholesome because it's always been whatever, but you know what I mean? Like the things that we focused on with bowl games, even a lot of those are deteriorated now. I mean, I remember even in the Nut era, you would write the stories where the players would be scheming. The bowl pays you to travel. So was it making more money from Ole Miss or from your hometown? Because you made more money the longer distance. You could claim the longer distance and then get there the other way or whatever that was. I mean, we wrote stories about even things along those lines. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's different. And look, and I'm not harping. I've been doing this every show. I feel like I apologize like 9 times a Brian on Monday night. fans are a little less involved, a little less motivated. They don't care as much as they did because of all the different dynamics going on with the sport. Well, one of the symptoms of that is you care less about bowl games, because bowl games are supposed to be just pure fun. That's it. You get a matchup that you kind of find exciting. You're playing a team that you don't typically play. That's kind of cool. It's in the holidays. Everybody's drinking or traveling or doing something where you're supposed to be in a better mood. And that's why bowl games are cool. You get one more last thing. You get a week of a ton of bowl games. That's all neat. That's what that's supposed to be. But when you care a little less, you care a little less. And that factors in here all the way around. I mean, it just does.
Florida kids cared a lot less.
They did. I don't mean players.
No,
though.
I
mean
know.
fans and everybody else. But again, Florida has a new coach. He's not on the hot seat by any means, but it didn't go overly well, especially after you beat Utah in week 1 and you look like, damn, Anthony Richardson was about to go win the Heisman. Back to your overhyping week 1 argument. And then you go 6-6. You end up in a bowl game on December the 19th because nobody else wanted the dang thing, or 17th, or whatever the date was.
20th, 19th, 20th. I don't know. 20th.
It wasn't the 20th. Today's the 22nd. It was the 17th, right?
Okay, yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. So I mean,
the days, those days just run together.
Yeah, it's always been an exhibition, but it used to be an exhibition that was kind of neat. It's no longer an exhibition that's kind of neat. It's not fun. They're not fun the same way. Some of them are, not all of them.
Big thanks to Kyle Wilson for the super chat, by the way. Appreciate that, Kyle. Thanks for the kind words. Oxford Exxon,
Highway 6 West in Oxford. You can get lunch specials. Those go. And hey, you better do it today. It can be a little chilly tomorrow. It'll be tough to get out. So if you want some grub, today would be the day to do that. If you need to fill up, go ahead and knock those things out. I know I'm not doing the Southern's, weather thing, but look, it's going to be really freaking cold tonight and tomorrow. So take care of things you need to take care of today while you're out. Oxford Exxon, blue sky locations throughout Mississippi, up and down I-55 and throughout North Mississippi as well. So take advantage of that. Even help you out with some of your holiday plans as well, side items, desserts, and more. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. Right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is completely up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. Probably too late to book your Christmas party or gathering, but I will take this opportunity to thank Rafters Bar and Grill. They've sponsored the hotline for 2 years now. That deal is up on New Year's Eve, so they're going to still advertise with us, but they're kind of moving their advertising around a little bit. We're advertising more for OPA than for Rafters, so we're looking for a sponsor for the hotline. So if you're interested in that, your business is interested in that, get in touch with me. You know my email. It's nealmccready@gmail.com. I don't care. Just put it out there. It's fine. If I get a handful more bad emails, which difference does it make? nealmccready@gmail.com if you're interested. And again, thanks to Rafters for being a part of the show to that degree for the past couple of years. And again, they'll still be with us. They'll be advertising with us. But in the event that you are trying to put together some sort of a late gathering, maybe a New Year's gathering, get in touch with Jeannie at Rafters, 601-842-0948. You can get a catering menu, reserve a date, and all of those things at Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford.
We'll get into some signing day things and some of those natures. Kind of put a bow on everything because we're going to take some time off after this. But
real quick on the bow, thanks to Sammy. First of all, Sammy, as always, bud, we appreciate you very much. Merry Christmas to you as well. Thanks for the super chat. And Austin, no hand raised guys tonight.
Yeah. It's posted on the board. It's been on Twitter as well. If you're into, I'd be into anything. Just kind of one of the feel good moments. The Washington Commanders put out their video of Ron Rivera, their head coach, congratulating their Pro Bowl players who had made the Pro Bowl. And it's, as much as we talk about the NFL and the Bradys and all the money and stuff, pretty cool to see guys get emotional and legitimately choked up over achieving that type of individual goal to get named to the Pro Bowl. Because look, the Pro Bowl is a running joke in the business, but not to some of these players who have had those goals. And it's not about the money or the trip, just the acknowledgement of the accomplishment. He had several players there for Washington get it, but the one that really stuck out, Jeremy Reeves, who is the starting special teams player for the Pro Bowl. And I was looking, it got put on Twitter. He has been waived or signed to a practice squad 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 times since September of 2018. And he is a starter in the Pro Bowl this week. He broke down Ron
sure he
Rivera.
did.
I mean, just the pursuit of that type of accomplishment, and then how his teammates cared for him. One of the other Pro Bowl players for Washington goes, "Look, I need to be in the room when you tell him, can I hide? I just want to see his face." He was so excited for his teammate at that point. Every one of those guys goes, "Hey, who else got in?" And every time they said Jeremy Riggs, they all went, like, you could tell it was hitting them.
Yeah.
And that was a thing. I mean, you need those kinds of stories. College, NFL, they're not robots. Show us the humans. Help us show you the humans.
The NFL does it well.
That's it here.
It's a failure in the college game
they're people.
Listen.
Get to know the people. I mean, I know I'm full circle, but that's the problem.
I'm glad you're saying it.
That's why fans are frustrated. They don't get to know the people.
I'm glad you're saying it. I'm glad you're saying it, because if I say it, people tell me that I'm complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm at a point in my life where, frankly, if you offer me less work for the same money, I'm in. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, I don't want to go to practice. I'll freely admit practice is practice. What am I going to do? Walk around and go, that third team guy looks good. Who am I? I mean, I don't know what looks good in a practice. I can tell you what a scoreboard, but you're exactly right. It's where the NFL is better than the college game. It's beyond the product on the field. It's the product off the field. The college game has gotten too locked down. The fans don't know the kids because the kids aren't accessible to the media. And the kids think, well, I need to get paid for any interview that I do. No, sometimes you need to do interviews so that people get to know you, so that they're invested in you, and the money comes later.
And your marketability increases.
That's exactly it. In the NFL, the locker rooms are open. Media build relationships with players, and sometimes you get a chance to sit down with the guy. You see it in Major League Baseball all the time. All the time. These beat writers are around these guys. They get to know them as more than baseball players and more than writers. And over the course of time, a writer can say to a player, hey, I saw about your dad or whatever. When you're comfortable, I'd love to talk to you about it. And before you know it, there's a story that runs, and a fan reads it, and now he knows something about that middle reliever for the Mariners that he would never have known before, because he's more than just some cat who comes in as a left-hander to get the left-handed part of the White Sox lineup out.
Yeah, analytic, essentially.
But college football has gotten into lockdown mode. It's a mistake. All the media relations people are wrong. The coaches are wrong. The people are wrong. You don't know these kids, and now they're getting a reputation because of the portal of being mercenaries. And when that happens, people get checked out. It's a mistake. But when people like me say it, what they say is, you're bitching because there's no access. No, I don't care if there's no access. But if I'm a fan, I want more access. I want to know the players.
Well, and really, it's a PSA to the players is, hey, just do the interviews, because you don't need media relations anymore. I mean, it's all open game. But
who are the players on the Ole Miss team that people know the most?
I mean,
it's the guys that we're doing shows with.
Say those, and Brian has written 2 very long features that I do think made an impact with people liking kids, Jackson Dart and Quinshon Judkins.
Agreed completely.
100%. Oh, wow, didn't know that. Cool. You would see this on the board. I'm rooting for him more now. Not that they weren't rooting for him, but I'm rooting for him more than, hey,
you guys are getting ready to play Kentucky. Tell me about the Wildcats defense. What did you think? What did you think about all that stuff? That's just random. That's just rote stuff. It's so easy. It's routine. They want to know about the kid, Quinshon, and the skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jackson, how hard it was to say goodbye to USC. How emotional it was to say goodbye to USC. The other day when he talked about, when he first got here, it was kind of culture shock. It took a little while to like it. A Utah kid in Mississippi, it's culture shock. It'd be literally like me moving to Idaho. It'll take a minute to feel like home. Gonna take more than a couple of days. He talked about that. It's the stuff that we don't get enough of. And it's not for a lack of effort. It's a lack of access. That's what it is. It's a mistake. And I'm not picking on Ole Miss. This is across the board.
Yeah. And now media probably needs to adapt a little. There's ways now to get them differently, but I mean, it requires some help from other people in some different ways. It has to have the kid being willing to do it, which is a lot of the problem, for free.
Well, I think that is where media relations comes in. I think that's where media relations can sit down with the young man and say, "Hey, look, here's who this request is from. This is why I think you should do it," etc.
And I guess my point is, I feel like even more power to get it done is the collective, or if they're a collective member versus the media relations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you go, hey, you need to do this for this, and it helps this, and you come out at that angle more than even from a school sponsor standpoint at this.
Yeah, because most of the people covering college football are really favorable. I mean, I can only think of like literally one writer nationally who I think is generally negative about college football, and it's his main sport. Most of the guys, if you think about it, regionally, nationally, who cover college football or college basketball are rah-rah guys, especially college basketball. My God.
And adapt to whatever sounds good to keep it as pure as possible. Like I was reading an article this morning from Matt Hayes, who I think writes for Saturday Down South now or whatever, but I don't even know why I clicked it, but I kind of did. But he was talking about signing day yesterday and all the essentially deals that were being done through NIL to flip kids and why it was so different than anything else. He had a coach he had a coach that said, this is unlike anything I've ever seen just because of the way it's going down, not even bad or good, just different. But there was nothing in the entire column on, hey, but is this good? What does this mean? It was just, oh God, kids, get your money. And it's like, okay, but well, it's
the theme of like, if this show ends up having a theme, it can be two things are true at once.
Yeah.
Things are not as black and white as some people just want to make them. Things can be more complex than that.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll get into some recruiting in a second. So we will just hang with us. First, tell you that this week the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation launched Forever Ole Miss, a new planned giving society to recognize supporters who have included Ole Miss athletics in their estate planning. One of the main benefits of Forever Ole Miss is the ability to designate priority points to loved ones upon the realization of a planned gift. More information on that for Forever Ole Miss, please visit givetoathletics.com/Forever Ole Miss. Also, it's the 22nd. They can run your cards up until December 31st for some end of year giving. Help out from a tax standpoint. You can find out more about that as well at the site. Again, that is givetoathletics.com or championsnow.com championsnowolemmiss.com as well. 915-7159.
We're also brought to you by Walk-On's Sports Bistro. They put everything they've got into bringing you game day with the taste of Louisiana. Dig into their mouth-watering, made-from-scratch Louisiana cuisine, po' boys, gumbo, voodoo shrimp, plus fan favorites like juicy burgers, fresh salads, 70-plus TVs, 40-plus ice-cold beers on tap. Check them out in Oxford or Ridgeland today. If you love free stuff, they've got a huge holiday giveaway announcement from Dead Soxy. You can enter to win over $700 worth of Dead Soxy's premium socks, plus a $300 Dead Soxy gift card, all in their super sleek luxury briefcase. They're looking for 10 lucky winners. So go to deadsoxy.com/sweep to enter the giveaway. College Corner is your one-stop Rebel Shop, 2 locations in the Jackson area. The College Corner is next to Fleet Feet in Flowood, and it's next to Fleet Feet in Ridgeland. In Flowood, it's next to Half Shell. If you don't live in Jackson, just go to collegecornerstore.com. Plus, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. We're brought to you by The Rogue. It's your destination for fine men's clothing. Their stylists hand-select pieces from top designers. From work to lifestyle to nightlife, there's the perfect something for everyone at The Rogue, 4450 I-55 North in Jackson, or therogue.com. If you even suspect the possibility of your heating system having some issues, get in touch with Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating today. Different names, same great products and services. If you live in Oxford, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer, 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, or the surrounding area, call the people at Southern, 662-429-4429. A-Stock Auctions is a Nashville-based online auction company with the mission to provide customers the power to name their price. All items at A-Stock start at just $1. That's right. Every item starts at just $1. Shop now, astock.bid. Download their app. Name your price on thousands of items from big-name retailers. A-Stock has multiple locations around Nashville that offer local pickups, so don't miss out. If you want it, bid it, win it. And we're brought to you by our friends at Solution RX. It's a probiotic multivitamin supplement company created by Ole Miss Pharmacy alum Chris Cornelison. It's pharmaceutical grade, manufactured right here inside the U.S., under the highest standards. They're based out of Iuka, Mississippi. If you take diabetes, high blood pressure, or cholesterol medications, they typically cause side effects like muscle pain, brain fog, and energy loss due to depletion of minerals and vitamins in the body. But Chris formulated prescription support, puts those vitamins back into the body, helps with side effects, helping you stay more compliant in taking your medications and helping you stay healthier over the long term. It's solutionsrx.com, promo code OEP at checkout. Get 10% off your first order.
Podcast is brought to you by Style Assembly. Style Assembly is the newest women's boutique on the square. Clothing, jewelry, shoes, purses, sunglasses, accessories, and more. They know what a pain it is for guys to shop for ladies sometimes, so that's why they simplify the process with Wish List. Just ever fill out a list at the store or over the phone, and Kate, the owner, and her team will keep it on file. So you have to do is call or stop by, choose something off the list, get the exact gift you want. It's down to colors and sizes. They'll gift wrap it for free. It's perfect Christmas, birthday, anniversary gift, or any special occasion. They'll ship straight to your door if you don't live near Oxford. They can wrap gift cards for a last-minute gift. Again, December 22nd, still time to get that done. So that's 203 North Lamar, 662-638-3163, or DM them on social media at Shop Style Assembly to place an order. I don't know if that fixed your camera or not. I clicked it, but I'm not sure.
Let's find out.
No,
it's still frozen. Okay.
Yeah. It didn't turn black, so I wasn't sure what to do, but frozen, I was not 100% sure what the...
Yeah, I'm not sure either. We'll get it fixed.
It's
It might be something you turn it off and turn it back on and everything will be fine. That's probably my guess.
That's typically the IT way to fix anything that goes on there. So, all right, Ole Miss, the early signing period. It technically runs through Friday, but the bulk of it here yesterday. Ole Miss signing 11 players in the morning, adding Caden Lee yesterday afternoon for 12 for the day.
Caden Lee's the longest we've ever had a story in admin. Is that correct?
Longer than hot boards for baseball?
Oh, that's true. That stayed up forever.
The longest that actually came to fruition that got published.
I think that's the record.
It's been a long time.
I wrote that story in September and updated it multiple times. Maybe even before that. It may have been in the summer. I think it was August, July when he visited. He was supposed to commit. So I had that written, had a graphic. I couldn't even find the graphic yesterday.
You went back and found it? Or you didn't use it?
I didn't use it because I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And I figured it didn't matter because it would have said committed and he actually had signed. So I was like, whatever.
So it was incorrect.
Yeah, the graphic would have finally been outdated. But Rivals built us a graphic back in the summer. And that story sat in admin forever and ever and ever. I took it out of admin, saved it. And then yesterday I woke up in Boise at about 4 a.m. and I said, I probably need to get up and work. And that was one of the things that I did, was went and found it, loaded it back in just in case.
At least you had it.
Yeah, I saved it.
I mean, that's the thing. So yeah, I think that's probably correct. But he was added yesterday afternoon, last night, whenever that was. I don't know, 6 o'clock. Ole Miss with 12 players, smallest class in the SEC by 4. I think A&M ended up at 16 if they signed more than that. Sorry, I've just missed it. Kentucky was at 17, and then everybody else above that. Ole Miss ranked from a total point standpoint. Rivals counts your top 20 commits for the total points. Ole Miss 51st in the country, but they only have 12 commits, so that really is an irrelevant number other than they only have 12 commits. From an average star ranking standpoint, Ole Miss sitting at 12th in the country. They did not take a lot of excess just to fill up a class. seven 4-stars, 5 3-stars in the class. And from a 4-star standpoint, something I like about all of them. I mean, the top of the class, very successful. They keep home the top 2 players in Mississippi, Aiden Williams and Centurion Perkins, and then another guy that Neal really likes, and Jamarius Brown as well. There inside the state. Braxton Myers, the corner out of Texas, he is somebody who was committed to USC at one point, 4-star corner, kind of overshadowed by the Mississippi guys in a lot of ways. But Bryson Sanders out of Tennessee, the offensive lineman as well, and then they signed Riscano, the running back, there late here in the last few weeks. I wrote about this yesterday, and what is interesting is there's clearly a path, and it's what we'll get into here. It's kind of this, again, theme of the day, both things being true at the same time. It's an incomplete. We don't know yet. There's a lot of top-end anchor guys that make a lot of sense in this class. Everybody except for 2 had been committed since September. There was not a lot of late movement here. I mean, from a late movement standpoint, you've got Riscano, the running back, late movement inward.
I'm biting my tongue.
Late movement inward. We'll get there too.
Yeah.
And then Ethan Fields, the offensive lineman out of Louisiana, that is a 5.53 star. As I wrote yesterday, that's probably the biggest reach in the class from a straight evaluation ranking standpoint by far. They get a smidge of benefit of the doubt because of Micah Pettis and Jalen Williams, who were both 5.53 stars, who ended up starting at tackle as redshirt freshmen. Different offensive line coach, obviously, but just putting all the different factors
together. He's got the
there.
frame and the ability to be a good player down the road.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of work to do. He's got to.
And that's kind of the point. You don't see that much anymore. There's no development in most programs right now for the kind of that mid-level guy like that low, mid-level 3-star.
I mean, if you think you can, he's got to rebuild his lower body. He's got long arms. He's pretty explosive. Things that you can't teach. He's got to get a whole lot stronger in his lower body. He's got to get rid of some fat. He's got to be a guy that gets into the proverbial weight room and lives there. He's kind of an old school signee, a high school kid. Hey, there's basically a 0 chance that you're going to help in year 1, so go get in the weight room. Redo your body completely, the lower half of your body. But you can't teach long arms.
Sure.
He's got those. So what I was told, I've talked to some coaches about I've tried to be a little more educated about this over the course of the last few weeks, and I've talked to some coaches about, hey, what are y'all looking at and stuff like that. One of the things they get in high school a lot is they get real strong kids, but they've kind of reached their ceiling because they don't have long arms. They don't have great feet. You can't teach explosiveness. You can't make somebody more explosive much. You can do a little bit.
Side speeds ratio. We'll talk about that. That was Freeze's thing when he actually was following it.
He's not wrong.
And he was right.
So anyway, yeah, but I'm with you. I mean, you can't give it a grade. And so there's the people that are like, this was an awesome class. Okay, no, that's hyperbolic. And the people who are, this is a disaster. No, it's not. You don't know what it is because you don't know what the rest of the class is going to be. And you might not know until May.
Look, there's one thing that would have made this class a failure on Wednesday, and it was not signing Aiden Williams and Centurion Perkins.
Yes.
That's it. That's the one thing they absolutely had to do. Bottom line, period, get that done.
Yes.
Is sign those 2 dudes.
Yes.
And they signed those 2 dudes.
They needed an impact linebacker, and they got him. They needed an impact wide receiver, and they got him. I think they got an impact defensive lineman in Brown, but I'm higher on him maybe than some other people. I think he's got a chance to be.
They've got a good running back.
They got a really good running back who, if he were a little faster, would be a 5-star kid. And I don't know how important. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to have breakaway speed. But if you watch the college game, please tell me how many 80-yard runs you see.
Yeah,
I mean, not many.
Well, it's one of the reasons Judkins wasn't ranked higher. I think it worked out all right last year.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's similar to Quinshawn. I'm not doing that to somebody, but
yeah,
there are some similarities. He's tough, a willing blocker. He's got good vision. You scared me. You looked up like there's something wrong.
I'm just checking things.
Okay, good. He does a lot of things well. He just doesn't have that 6th gear, but most guys don't. So it's all cool.
You're better all. Okay, this is where it gets complicated. And we'll talk about Marcel Reed and all that in a minute. That's not the point right now. Or I
Okay.
guess we don't have to. Whatever you want.
I'd like to talk about it.
Okay.
Because I think it's an interesting
It is.
dynamic.
Here's the thing, because there's lots of fighting on the board both ways about this. Lane Kiffin clearly says he's not going to reach for a lot of 3-star or guys who he does not think are going to be impactful at the college level just to fill out a class. Because 10 years ago, this class would have been ranked like 14th or 15th, and everybody would have been happy because a bunch of 5.63 stars filled it out the rest of the way.
Yep.
That's what would have happened across college football.
Of course.
22 commits, 24 commits. Woo! All good.
That's why I did not write about rankings at all yesterday. It was not to avoid it. It was just because I know we're part of Rivals. RebelGrove.com is part of Rivals. This podcast is not part of Rivals.
Right.
And Rivals does recruiting rankings. And I get it. I'm not criticizing. And I'm not belittling the rankings, because if you look at the teams at the very top of the rankings, I don't even know who's up there right now, but
Alabama signed one hell of a class.
Yeah, so if you look at the rankings, the teams
Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State are 1, 2, 3 in some order.
And those are the best programs in the country right now. And they can recruit at a level, at the high school level, that Ole Miss, frankly, at least today, can't.
Right.
So I'm not belittling the ranking. I'm saying it's more nuanced than that.
They have cornerstone guys in this class that if you had a full class of 20, whatever, you'd be really happy about the first 5 or 6 dudes, just like you were happy about the top 5 or 6 dudes right now. What it brings into, and why there's fighting on the board, there's plenty of reasons why they're fighting on the board, but one of the reasons why that makes sense, why there are arguments, is that, like you said, it's an incomplete. You're moving to portal now. You're moving to a couple guys that could potentially be February signees still out there. I mean, there's usually 1 or 2 in a class. Taiwan Malone was late a couple years ago. That happens. There are dudes. But there's a huge emphasis on the portal now, and that's good and bad. And it's not a straightforward emphasis. Last year the portal was seen as this, hey, go get impact guys who can help you however many years they have left, and they got to go right now. Well, I did snap counts every week. And some of this was by hurry up, no huddle design. Some of this was by a lack of depth. Ole Miss didn't play a lot of dudes. One of their impacts from a negative standpoint over the course of the year was lack of depth. That's not arguable. That is 100% a fact, that they simply offensively and defensively did not play enough players. It is one of the reasons why their second half numbers weren't as good as their first half numbers. There's lots of reasons why they're very relevant to why that matters. Well, when you don't sign more than 12, you're still not building depth anywhere. They got a lot of studs up top, but you're not getting guys who you hope are contributors. Now, look, if you end up signing 25 kids, no matter what, okay, we'll see where the depth comes in. But some of that's got to be multi-year guys. And Lane talked about that yesterday. He said that between players who are going to be there multiple years, and he believes, especially after bowl games when more people get into the portal, because it's not done yet, he believes you can sign backups out of the portal. We have not seen that to this point. But that is clearly a plan that he has. Is he believes there are going to be guys out in the portal with 2 or 3 years remaining of eligibility, maybe even 4, depending on the player and what's going on, who are going to be okay with coming in for reserve roles or shared duty roles or whatever that looks like, where he can go into the portal and add depth. Okay, I can't say he's wrong. We don't know. It is a complete and utter incomplete right now on what that looks like. It is clearly his plan, and he feels like the gamble on that is more effective than just signing a bunch of high school guys and hoping that you run into an Evan Ingram out there somewhere when you do it. I mean, look, that happens every year, but I can pick 100 guys who didn't do that, who were 3 stars out of high school at the same time.
Sure.
So, look, that's his plan. Is it going to be right or wrong? We won't know until scoreboards start popping with numbers in August and moving forward. You can know before that and have a look and go, oh, no, that's not enough. Or, wow, okay, maybe. But you don't really know they play games. I don't know.
Or it can be more complex than that even. It can be also that, hey, right now, where you are today, for whatever reason or collection of reasons, you can't go out and get 19 or 20 4-star players. Can't get them yet. Can't get that done. And so you use the portal to fill out your class. And maybe it's conceivable that we'll look back in a couple of years and say, they were too reliant on the portal, or that getting 20 guys out of the portal every year is not sustainable. Or maybe it is. I don't know.
There's 2 other things here too. One is everybody's grading this class based off Ole Miss having $10 million NIL that was announced here in the last 6 weeks. Most of this recruiting happened way before that. Ole Miss did not have a massive amount of NIL when this happened for the most part. For the most part.
I know people who've been saying this out
Yes,
loud
I know.
for a while.
So what you had in November on the 5th is not what you needed in July and August and March and whatever.
Kids made decisions.
They made decisions
in March, April, May, June, July.
Yes.
Those decisions were made.
That money wasn't there then to this level at all.
Commitments were made to other places.
And yes, this path of recruiting requires you to hit on the portal every single year. If you have a year where it doesn't work out, you are screwed.
Yeah, and people say, well, is that sustainable? I don't know. It's too new.
We'll see. Hit it. Don't hit it. I don't know. Yeah.
It's too new. It may be. I mean, for the people who this is absolutely the right plan. How do you know that? And the same, although people go, this is absolutely a disaster. How do you know that? You don't. And maybe that's hard for people who are Tuesday is taco night people. Maybe that is a hard thing. I need to know. Well, we don't know. No one knows. Kiffin basically said that yesterday. This is all new. It's not like it used to be. I mean, there are the people that are out there, believe me, I encountered them over the weekend, who they want recruiting to be this. I think they want a recruiting season. You know what I mean? Like there used to be. The season ended, the regular season ended, and the coaches hit the road, and from the end of November through the first Wednesday in February was this wild season. Like football season. You had football
great
season.
For business.
It was great for business. I mean, hell, I miss it too in that regard.
Official visits and the weekends and the whole deal. Yeah.
I just don't think that it really exists anymore. It's not the way it is anymore. National sign. ESPN didn't even do a show.
Yeah.
National Signing Day is not what it was. Kids take official visits in the summers now. They make decisions. They want to get it done before their high school senior year. More kids are graduating early. All that. It's just a lot of stuff. And so I think there's this desire for there to be this drama that always existed that no longer does. I mean, look at Ole Miss in the last week. What was the drama, if you think about it? Kedrick Riscano committed.
And Marcel Reed.
Ethan Fields committed. Marcel Reed backed out. And Neo Avery
flipped on signing.
Flipped to Maryland, and they went ahead and finally got the deal closed with Caden Lee, who may have just simply been wanting to do the announcement that he did last night.
And I think so, because Lane yesterday morning goes, God, that's not the final number. Okay,
yeah,
fine. He was talking about Caden Lee.
I think he was talking about Caden Lee, who I think wanted to have that event with his parents on the night of signing day at 6:30 at that restaurant that they were at.
Yeah, sure.
Which is fine.
Got no issues.
Caden probably could have avoided a little of it by going, I'm announcing on Wednesday at 6:30 at a party at X.
Could have.
And just been, but it's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
But my point is, that's not a lot. And so for the people that are like, where's my drama? Well, there is no drama. I mean, it's just not the same. And now we're going to the portal season, which is the same thing, which is there's going to be more guys. I've heard this multiple places. There are going to be more guys jumping into the portal when their bowl games are done. Bowl games are obviously ongoing. I think the last round of bowl games that will be pertinent to this conversation are January the 2nd. I think you're going to see a lot of guys jump into the portal January the 3rd. And after that, there will be a new round of recruiting. You're going to see some official visits in January of portal guys. And different schools have different enrollment times. And so for Ole Miss, we've talked about this, it's the
end of January.
The portal goes to the end of January, 1st of February, and then there will be more portal late spring.
Yes.
So recruiting, instead of being a season, this is what the coaches bitch about. Because the coaches kind of wish it were back to being a season, if they're being honest. But recruiting has become this sort of year-round slow trickle.
And when I posted yesterday that in a perfect world, Ole Miss gets more high school kids that this fills out, that's because they have the money and the ability to get top-level high school kids, because there's a reason why Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State are doing it the way they're doing it, is they can get elite talent. And when you get elite talent, you have two ways to get talent. You get to get them in, and if they play early, they're with you, and you're paying them, and you're keeping them like Quinshon Judkins. That's what that kind of looks like.
Sure.
Or if something doesn't pan out, you can still go to the portal. I mean, if you sign a bunch of high school kids, you're not beholden to not grab some dudes where you need them. Yeah. You just hopefully don't need as many of them.
Alabama's used the portal some.
Eli Ricks, a lot of guys. Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
Georgia hasn't used it much at all, but I'm hearing that Georgia's going to use the portal some this year.
Yeah, I mean, you're not forbidden from the portal if you get more high school kids. There are multiple avenues to procure talent, and when you get more elite high school kids, you have multiple lanes going at once.
Yeah.
Ole Miss has fewer lanes going. That's all this is. Not that you can't still get there, and maybe you don't hit traffic, and maybe you get there in the same amount of time, but it creates different variables for you versus a different.
And there are different schools doing it different ways. And right now, when I hear people do the thing where they say, well, school X is just doing this the wrong way, how do you know?
No.
They might not be. It's too early to say. Like Freeze at Auburn, they added a bunch of those 5.6, 5.7 three-star guys. That's how they kind of fleshed out their class. And they're going to get some pub for top 15 and stuff. And this is not a criticism at all. It might be that he absolutely is doing it the right way. And it might be that he's not. I don't know. It's too early. You can't say today. And I think that's where the old school recruiting, right? When you didn't have the portal, when recruiting ended on the first Wednesday of February and you stacked up the rankings, star averages, all that stuff, and you finished 11th or you finished 29th or whatever the case, you're like, oh, this was a great class, or uh-oh, we're in trouble, whatever. There was that. I'm not picking on fans. We did it too. We wrote about it. There's a reason I used to always write about rankings, and now I don't mention them. I just don't know that they're pertinent anymore. If you're covering a program that is at least 50% portal, I don't know that it's – and Rivals has added portal rankings this year.
Yes.
So maybe in February, when it's all said and done and the portal has sorted itself out and the rankings are done, we'll come back and go, hey, let's look at these rankings and talk about how they got there. And the people at Rivals, if they're smart, and I think they are, will admit that, hey, we're learning this on the fly too. We might not have the formula down just right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like it used to be. Lane said that yesterday. When he said it, I was like, oh, thank God.
Oh, no, he was frustrated. There was even a press conference because he goes, I don't have the – because, I mean, he could talk about the individual player. He was more than happy to talk about Aiden Williams and Moscano and those kind of dudes. But
well, he walked into it. I really don't know why I'm here.
But the bigger questions, he goes, because, like, you know, and again, it's a valid question. I'm not criticizing a reporter at all. He goes, hey, Lane, you know, what kind of needs are left? And he goes, I don't know who's leaving my team. He goes, we're gonna lose more kids after the bowl. So how do I know where the need
literally,
is?
Let's take Ole Miss, and this applies, by the way, almost everywhere. But take Ole Miss. There are guys in the portal right now who are going to get out of the portal and come back.
Yeah.
There are guys who are not in the portal right now who are going to get in the portal after the Texas Bowl. They just are. He probably has a decent idea, but I guarantee you there will be a surprise both ways.
And Lane is big on best available. So it's not even position-based. He needs to see who's in the portal to go, oh, I want that dude, even though I don't necessarily need that guy right now.
And no, I will never say the name, and I'll never say the school.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, sure.
Not going to do it. It's violative. Is that a word? Violates kind of the confidence, and so I'm not going to do it. There are 4 players from one school who have reached out to Ole Miss who are right now not in the portal.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
They got a bowl game to play.
So tampering goes both ways.
Oh, God. Yeah. No. Yeah. I refuse to get angry about tampering with anybody or listen to it. Your school's tampering, and your school is being tampered with.
Yes.
Period. Those 4 guys might or might not get into the portal.
Mm-hmm.
They might.
Sure.
Or they might not. Or some of them might. And then they might get in, and it might turn out that not only they reached out to you, they've reached out to 4 or 5 other schools. Maybe you get them, maybe you don't. There's so much out there. To his credit yesterday, I give him a ton of credit for just the transparency of it all. He's told the truth. What are my needs? I don't know. I mean, I have some general ideas, but those needs might change January the 2nd.
And there is no 25 cap. Just take
an 85.
Yeah, that's it.
And then,
and frankly, most schools are going to have a terrible time getting to 85 and staying there.
But if you have to go above 85, you can, because you can use NIL as a way to pay for some scholarships for 1 year.
There was a very prominent player this past year who was not on scholarship.
Yeah, 1 year dudes.
Yeah.
Guys who are coming in for 1 season.
We can cover it.
We'll cover it. Here,
Maybe
it's handled. Yeah. Can't probably do that on a kid that's got 3 or 4 years. That's a little iffy for the kid. The kid's not going to roll that dice. But, yeah, it's just the grade is incomplete. Any grade other than incomplete is
disingenuous.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Podcast, Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com. 7 different flavors available for you, including their most recent one, the New Orleans style barbecue. It's excellent, as well as their signature, their French Quarter Alfredo, the garlic herb butter, their Cajun shrimp bowl as well. They've got a lot of options there for you at Prime Shrimp. They deliver it straight to your door, money back guarantee, and use code MPW if you haven't been a customer. You get $20 off your first order. It's more than a pound of shrimp for free when you do that with Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com. They also have their individually frozen shrimp, just like what's at the grocery store. It's a higher quality shrimp. It's 2-pound bags of that as well. So again, that's primeshrimp.com.
Game Changer patches are the only 2-patch system available in the market to stop hangovers before they start. You got the warm-up patch, you got the overtime patch. They've got a big sale going on right now, so go check them out at GameChangerPatch.com. And you can learn more from them there. ACS is owned by my friend Clay McNutt, Baldwin, Mississippi. It's a complete electrical control system solution provider. It's a Rockwell Automation recognized system integrator. They've got a full-time dedicated emergency service and troubleshooting staff, a UL 508A panel shop, and much more. It's ACSLLCMS.com or call 662-601-4381. I still got time to head over to Lammons Fine Jewelry, 1126 North Lamar Boulevard in Oxford. Whatever you're looking for, watches, pearls, fashion jewelry, gifts, children's jewelry, collectibles, they've got it and more. It's the gold standard in fine jewelry. Visit them at lammonsfinejewelry.com or call them at 662-234-2777. We'll have a Mind on My Money next week, I think is the plan, sometime next week. That's brought to you by Pinnacle, based in Madison, Mississippi. They represent clients in more than 20 states. They've got advisors in multiple states as well. It's mypenwealth.com. Just got back from Vegas and Boise, a trip that was booked through John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. I can't tell you how much easier it was not having to worry about all that stuff, having everything kind of prepaid, pre-done. It was just super convenient. What we did was we gave him a budget and some parameters, and then we didn't do anything. We just enjoyed the trip. You can do the same thing. 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. Mentioned OPA earlier. It is the perfect place to plan your parties, fabulous food, craft libations. Let them host your company dinner, festive party event. They can accommodate up to 200 guests at OPA. For more information, call Jeannie, 601-421-7147. I'll get back to the mailbag next week. It's brought to you by Whitney McNutt, Tommy Morgan Incorporated Realtors, serving you for all your real estate needs in Oxford and Tupelo. She sells condos, land, commercial, and residential family homes. You can reach her at 662-567-2573 or 662-842-3844.
Podcast is brought to you by Johnson Hill Creamery. That's johnsonhillcreamery.com. They make all their small batch artisanal cheeses, charcuterie boards, and more locally in-house every single day. 662-419-9201. Cheese at johnsonhillcreamery.com if you'd like to just send them an email and get it done that way. And they've had some more holiday boxes available if you're looking for a gift for the cheese lover in your life. Remember, pickup available through December 23rd. So that's tomorrow. They only need 24 hours notice. So give them a call today. Take care of what you need to. If you still need some cookies for Santa or some different quick gifts that are excellent in quality there from Johnson Hill Creamery. Again, that's 662-419-9201. You want to talk about Marcel
Isn't
Reed?
it weird that we give Santa Claus milk? We leave milk out for Santa? Because the milk could spoil.
Really should be like lactose free at least. And then
wouldn't it be better off putting out like a cup of coffee in a thermos for Santa? Because I mean, dude's trying to stay awake.
Need some caffeine, some rain. You want to leave rain for Santa?
Well, I mean, I think it would be
You think the Siskey household leaves rain for Santa?
I mean, it's a thought.
Help him out a little bit.
Yeah, wake him up, give him a boost. Makes more sense than leaving milk out to get warm.
What is the caloric intake on a night of chocolate chip cookies too? I mean, it's
outrageous.
I mean, it needs the energy, but
that's a lot.
It's a lot of sugar.
I mean, he's a big fella.
Maybe that's the thing, though. You're getting so much sugar from the cookies.
There was no sugar in rain.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't want to give them Red Bull or something. No bueno. You're Surge. That's not the way to go.
Mm-mm.
But you could
Just the thought that maybe one of the reasons that he's...
You know there are households that leave like carrot sticks for Santa.
Look,
Just saying.
he appears to have a weight problem. And maybe some of that is because we continue just to give him cookies, and he's such a nice guy. And he's like, I got to eat them. Looks up at the end of the night, and how many millions of chocolate chip cookies has he had? It's a lot of calories to deal with. I'd have an absolute nervous breakdown.
That is a good point. Big Ben says, I mean, the damn reindeer do all the work. Give Santa a beer. That's a good point. I mean, I know he's driving, but...
Avery's right. What about a nice charcuterie board? A little something different.
He gets and goes, oh.
How about this?
I can't wait to get to Katie's house tonight because he's going to get the... Yeah, you give carrot for the reindeer. Leave reindeer food out and stuff. It can be as complex as you would like to make it.
We were flying over South Dakota the other night.
Yes.
And South Dakota is really rural. When you fly over it, you realize how rural it is. I think we flew right over Sioux Falls, though, which looked kind of cool from 33,000 feet. But I was thinking about Santa, like, as he's flying over all that rural area, he's like, God, what a waste of time this is.
Oh, he populated spaces.
Yeah, like when he's going through Philly, he's like, I'm getting a lot done right now.
Yeah, South Dakota.
But when he's over like rural South Dakota, he's like, is this really worth the trip?
Yeah, I had a buddy who was in South Dakota a couple weeks ago. We were looking up some stuff right after it came back and talking about it. And, you know, their Cap Pier, it's only like 14,000 people. Mm-hmm. It's smaller than Oxford. So it's only government business people is essentially all that lives there. There's like nothing else. I mean, Sioux Falls is bigger. That's the largest, I guess, the largest city.
I think this is Sioux Falls. There's one other that whichever one we flew over was kind of cool.
Okay.
It looked cool.
Sioux Falls was like just shy of 200,000, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the capital was seriously like 15,000, 14,000.
Yeah.
Something like that. Marcel Reed. So again, a lot of different things here. He puts out a tweet on Monday night that he's decommitting from Ole Miss, and he will make his next announcement at 7:00. And you know, he was pretty punctual for recruits. I'll at least give him that. A lot of times they say, "Hey, Monday at 7," and it's June, but he was better. He commits to Texas A&M. He got them to do a big graphic with a cowboy hat and some Christmas lights and all sorts of stuff. I mean, a big fancy graphic there for Marcel Reed.
Sure.
Out of NBA. And his dad comes out, Rob Reed, right after that in the days, and said NIL had nothing to do with it, that A&M had been on him the entire time, that Lane's dalliance with Auburn or whatever that was or wasn't played a role in things, made him look around a little more. All this despite Marcel Reed, I don't know, 10 days ago saying, what's the word, #NIL. I'm just throwing out some tea leaves that seems relevant to the conversation. It feels like to me.
Felt relevant at the time.
In my logical situation. Lane Kiffin did not take an in-home visit to see Marcel Reed. That's worth mentioning throughout the conversation as well, for whatever reason it is or is not.
Yep.
Because Ole Miss, for guys they wanted to keep, worked hard in the final weeks to do it. Bryson Sanders had some other people that was in on him. Georgia and Alabama made significant runs at Centurion Perkins throughout the process. And there at the end, there was not a lot of movement from Ole Miss back toward Marcel Reed. Lane Kiffin yesterday was asked about not signing a quarterback in the class, what the plans were moving forward, and he went out of his way to say that he does not feel like Ole Miss lost a quarterback, that some things are not always as they seem, I believe was the quote that he said, something along those lines on what he meant. And there's been a lot of talk over the last couple days about NIL amounts and whether somebody is worth an amount that would be required to keep said person. There's lots of buzz out there that essentially A&M had a higher NIL plan for Marcel Reed. And it's one of those deals where whether Ole Miss can or cannot physically match something is not really the conversation. I think Lane not going up there does at least help the argument to have the conversation of, is there simply a barrier to what Ole Miss thought Marcel Reed was worth?
Yeah.
And if you get over that number, look, this is a business decision from both sides. Players can do whatever. They're fully within their rights and capabilities to take whatever is offered to them. From a school side, though, you're managing a budget, and you're not just necessarily overpaying for kids just to overpay for them. You're not giving your whole war chest to a kid who you think has some development time.
I mean, the Boston Red Sox had to make a decision about what Xander Bogaerts was worth.
Yeah.
At some point, you had to put a number on it.
Yeah.
There was an analytical number on it. San Diego Padres said, no, we think he's worth more than that. Who's right? I don't know. Come back in 3 years. Let's look at the numbers.
Yeah, we'll see. And that's what I said on Monday night, which is what's fascinating about this, is Marcel Reed will prove this thing right or wrong.
Of course.
If he ends up in the transfer portal in a year, we go, hell, okay, Ole Miss dodged that one, whatever.
And if he's a Heisman candidate,
you go,
hey,
shit, he was worth it.
You probably should have given him more.
That's it.
Again, you don't know. And then here's where I think there can be two things true at once. Sure. On one hand, Rod Reed can be kind of full of it, right? That's his kid, and I'm not anybody.
We also are, not to cut you off, we're also not to the point for where everybody's going to come out and go, nope, it was all NIL. We're just not there yet. They're not able to see that, even though whatever.
And maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was more than that. Is it possible that, hey, we were kind of shopping around a little bit, seeing what was out there, and then the Auburn thing came up and it didn't go away, and it kind of was like, well, maybe we ought to really take a harder look. It's possible. It's possible that he's telling the truth, that it wasn't all NIL, that it was partially NIL. When he says it was nothing to do with NIL, oh, come on. But it's possible that in fact, I think it's quite likely that Ole Miss lost some momentum in recruiting with the Auburn stuff over those 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, in a very across the gamut, not necessarily even with particular kids.
Yeah, not necessarily just specifically with Marcel Reed, just in general. Two things can be true at once. I mean, based on what I saw this time or in next November, if there's a job that comes open and Lane Kiffin's name starts being mentioned for it, unless Lane Kiffin is seriously interested in that job, he probably should pour cold water on that fire as fast as he can, because I do think that speculation doesn't do anything positive for you in recruiting.
Look, Marcel Reed brought this on himself in a couple ways. Number one, the tweet, which brings it all more into focus and makes nobody believe you even when you say it's something else. Number two, when Lane was going through all this, and again, things can change. This is not a criticism necessarily of the kid. It's also, hey, don't get upset when people have these conversations. He goes on the radio in Nashville and goes, nope, I'm committed to the school. I love it. And even if Lane leaves, I'm going to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I got problems now because you offered that up. Nobody made you do that.
Right.
You did things that created this conversation for us at this point. That's the thing.
Yeah, of course.
No, this actually is the baseball free agency is actually probably one of the better comparisons right now, because unless you're Georgia, which would be the Dodgers, and you can just do whatever the hell you want to do. I guess the Mets right now, but
we'll take the Braves and Dansby Swanson.
Yeah.
Could the Braves have re-signed Dansby Swanson? Of course. They determined that, you know what, $177 million over 7 years is past our price point on where we value Dansby Swanson.
All right.
The Cubs said, no, we think it's worth it for us.
Okay.
So 3 years from now, if Dansby Swanson's hitting 240 and losing his range, the Cubs are going to look at it and go, we overpaid. If 3 years from now the Cubs are in the National League Championship Series and Dansby Swanson's hitting like he did last season and still playing Gold Glove shortstop and was part of a piece that enabled them to go get a bigger piece next year and make that move, the Cubs will go, hey, it was worth every penny and then some. You don't know yet. So when people give this grade, because we do this, grading the winners and losers of MLB free agency, you can't. It's too early. You don't know. You don't know. Is Aaron Judge's contract worth it? Now, his is more complicated because he's the face of the franchise. He's now the captain, all of those things. But is it conceivable that 5 years from now, Aaron Judge is breaking down and you're paying him $40 million a year and you've got 5 more years on the deal and you look at it and go, this is not good? Yeah, that's possible. We do this in sports. The Rams sold their soul to get a Super Bowl. Now, they got it.
So it counts.
So it's worth it.
Yeah.
Had the Rams lost to the Bengals, and the Bengals led with 3 minutes to go, we would look at it and go, man, I don't know, right? Sports is that way.
Well,
it's one of the reasons
the Saints runs after 09 wasn't worth it. They capped their entire thing to lose on 2 weird plays.
Yeah, so no, it wasn't worth it. Is it fair to judge like that? I don't know. Probably not. We do anyway. It's back to the recruiting. You don't know who won. I think it's a safe bet Alabama won. I think it's a safe bet Georgia won. It's a safe bet that Ohio State won yesterday. But there aren't 5 programs that can just go out there right now and go, hey, you know what? We're going to sign 28 4- and 5-star players. We're going to do it right now because we can.
Yeah. And Joey, you comment there that is interesting. He says, can't hold an 18-year-old kid, says against him when money's on the table. It could have been driving up his own price like adults do all the time. Sure, but that's the thing. Nobody's pitchforking him. He's fully within his rights. I can also judge him for it, just like you would judge adults for doing it. When you're 18 years old and you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, you're an adult.
Yes.
We're not having kid conversations anymore at that point. So, yeah, you can do whatever. It's legal. It's fine. I have no problem with you doing it.
None whatsoever.
We also can talk about it.
Sure.
Such is life. That's the way it works.
I mean, I would have advised my kid, hey, look, if you don't know what you're doing, stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Chill. Let's go through the process.
Figure it out.
And it's conceivable that he would not have been looking around had the Lane Kiffin to Auburn stuff not popped up. And the Lane Kiffin to Auburn stuff got really loud nationally. And so I'm sure that one of the conversations they had was, well, what do we do if? What if Ole Miss brings in a coach to replace Kiffin that doesn't like me? Am I crazy not to be looking around right now? I mean, Hugh Freeze gets to Auburn, and Hugh Freeze offers Marcel Reed. So he went and looked. And then, Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, they've got NIL money to burn. They're one of the programs, like I mentioned the other ones, they just don't win like the other ones do.
Well, that's a good
but
point.
they've got the money to go get kind of whoever they want to go get. So they do. So they decided they wanted Marcel Reed. They're kind of like the Dodgers. They can commit and overpay and it not matter. If you're Ole Miss is more like I'm trying to think of a team that makes sense as a comparison. The Texas Rangers, maybe. You got money. You can play. But you don't have the Dodgers money. You don't have the Yankees money. And so if you make a mistake, you feel it a little more. If you're the Mets right now, I mean, Cohen's like, I don't care what it costs. So you just go spend the money, and whatever.
I mean, as somebody said here, he's paying more in luxury tax than 10 teams' entire payrolls.
Right. So, teams like Texas A&M or the Mets got money. Spend it. They don't care. If it doesn't work out,
we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, the money they're worried about is the Jimbo money. They're not really worried about whatever you gave Marcel Reed. If it doesn't work out, fine. It's not breaking the bank. Let's call it $100,000. Okay. No big deal. Be like you and me losing $10. You wouldn't even think about it the next day. Just lost $10. That's the difference. When Ole Miss commits $100,000 to a kid and it doesn't work out, they feel it a little bit more. They decided it wasn't worth it and moved on. Now, do they need a quarterback? Yes.
Yes.
Because right now you have Jackson Dart.
Right now, that's all you have scholarship because Kincaid hasn't made a decision to the best of my knowledge.
To the best of my knowledge, he hasn't either. But you potentially have Jackson Dart, Kincaid Dent, and a couple of kids that walked on last year. And maybe they end up being phenomenal stories, which would be awesome for us. God. I mean, they're both super nice kids. I talked to both Braden Waterman and Devin Widner in the recruiting process, and they're great. So maybe one or both of them work out, and it's no big deal. But you got to go get another quarterback. And now you're probably left to do the portal, and it makes next year's quarterback recruiting pretty damn important. Because it's conceivable that Jackson Dart could walk after next year.
Sure.
He's draft eligible. If he had a big year and decided to go, I don't think that's likely, but it's possible, and you have to plan accordingly.
And as pointed
Or
out,
Jackson could graduate early and decide to transfer somewhere, because that's another part of the transfer portal that you can't ignore.
Yeah.
Guys can go transfer, graduate from a school,
and then
transfer again as a grad transfer.
By the way, JT Daniels ended up at Rice to complete his college career, so he's gone now USC, Georgia, West Virginia, Rice.
It's a circuitous route.
Yeah. Had him, and then was it the Oregon tight end that was given his 8th and 9th years of eligibility?
I read about that.
Yeah.
So he will also be collecting Social Security while he plays, which is, hey, it's
8th and 9th.
I mean,
it's got to be a record.
Who wants to play that long?
He's playing his 8th.
Good for him.
And he's been fairly productive. So Oregon was like, yeah, sure.
Whatever. Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, feel free.
It's free.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to have a doctorate by the time he's done.
But, I mean, so there's a lot there.
Yeah. Podcast brought to you in part by Northeast Spark, NESPRC. 2 packages, the Ignite, the 100 Mbps, or the Blaze, the 1 gig that powers the Clark Ford Studio. Your hometown team bringing you world-class broadband. That's nespark.com, 662-238-3159. Phone service, parental controls, network security, and more. You can call the office for details to get the best internet in Lafayette County. Again, that's 662-238-3159.
Brought to you by Service Specialist Staffing and Recruiting Agency, connecting great job opportunities to candidates since 1967. If you're on the job hunt, they've got positions for you, entry level all the way to seasoned professional in multiple fields. If you're looking for hard-to-find quality talent, they've got that as well. It's always free for the candidate. Payment is solely contingent on you deciding to hire a candidate that Service Specialist sends to you. So you've got nothing to lose. 662-832-5138, or check out their new and improved website, servicespecialistltd.com. Don't just accept what you see, but imagine something new. Step forward, chase after a better version of yourself. Every day, Corinth Dental is helping people reinvent themselves one smile at a time. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative state-of-the-art procedures, including Invisalign. These clear aligners are the virtually invisible way to improve your smile, so call Corinth Dental today for a no-cost digital scan of your teeth. Let them show you the way to a straighter, healthier smile. 12 months, no interest, no down payment financing is available at corinthdental.com. Are you a displaced corporate executive wanting to put your career in your own hands? Are you an experienced entrepreneur wanting to diversify? Andy Ledecky can help. He's a longtime Rivals board member, a diehard college football fan, and a franchise veteran. He owns multiple franchises and businesses, uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. Call Andy. Put your life and career in your own hands. 100% free. He's got nothing to lose. Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net or contact Andy at 404-973-9901 or Andy at myperfectfranchise.net.
Podcast is brought to you by G&M Pharmacy, 662-236-2222. They deliver locally in the Oxford area, and they offer MedSync for your prescriptions the same day each month. Take care of you. They can also transfer your medications, mostly for you. You make one call. They do the rest. Move away from a big box pharmacy to one that cares about you in the community. That's G&M or Tyson Drugs in Holly Springs, 662-236-2222. Ole Miss basketball lost 66-65 to UNA on Tuesday afternoon at the Pavilion.
Heard about that.
They are, I think, 8-4 now on the season.
That is correct.
Losses to UCF and UNA here in the last, 7 days, so something like that. Look, we're not going to spend a ton of time here because we have 20 games remaining in the season. There are 18 conference games. There's a trip to Stillwater, Oklahoma to play the Cowboys.
And at least one SEC tournament game.
That is correct. But here's the nuts and bolts of it, is that loss on Tuesday was crippling in any Pollyanna metric that you're looking for potential postseason berths.
What are the Pollyanna's doing with this?
I haven't seen much at all. It's been kind of not talked about. I mean, because look, and this is not a bash to Kermit or anybody else. I think most people want Kermit Davis to succeed because he's very good in the community and he's a nice guy.
Yes.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. There's a certain Matt Luke element. Please God, win. Good guys winning is good.
Absolutely.
That's instead of the shit that wins a lot of times. Good guys winning is good.
Yes.
If the world can have Will Wade or Kermit Davis win, you would like for Kermit Davis to win.
99,000 times
Will
in a row.
but sure, that's where we went there.
Sure, Will has a podcast now.
Hey, I told you this.
That's
yes,
right.
Very aware. Haven't listened yet, but yes, I saw this. Good for him. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
So I've seen a couple different things. We're having NIL arguments right now with Ole Miss basketball, and that's completely irrelevant when you lose to UNA. That has nothing to do with anything. NIL and roster acquisition should never be in the same conversation as losing to a team that just got promoted to Division I, is in the Atlantic Sun, and doesn't have 1% of the resources of Ole Miss from a basketball or an athletics department standpoint. It's unacceptable simply because it was Ole Miss and UNA, not because of anything secondary going on inside those programs whatsoever, okay? So that one's on the team and on Kermit and on everybody affiliated, not with on how much booster involvement is going on inside the program.
Correct.
Again, two things at once. The job needs to get better. There needs to be more NIL commitment if you're going to really make a run into the sport being competitive at Ole Miss moving forward. There has been some advancements, but not enough. Okay, so that's that. We're not to that conversation yet, but
should have let you write this in 10 thoughts, because apparently what I wrote got misconstrued as me saying none of this is Kermit's fault, or that none of this is
and Tuesday
punishable.
Is very much Kermit's fault. And look, frankly, from a financial standpoint, I was kind of holding some stuff that I was going to turn into an article for when it's relevant, and it's probably relevant right now. It's probably something I'll work on over the next few days to spit it out. Because of that loss and because where we are for covering that program. So no, it's both things. The program has to get better. There needs to be more commitment in a variety of ways in saying that you should not lose to UNA, and frankly, you shouldn't lose home games to UCF if you have any postseason potentials coming in. Kermit came into this year knowing that he needed to be better. I don't know the exact conversations, but I think a lot of the postseason talk or the season meeting last year with Keith Carter is, hey, look, got to get in the running, got to be better next year.
I think you got to be postseason relevant at the end of February, 1st of March. I think you have to be. You and I have talked about this, right? There's a calendar. And yes, Ole Miss is one of a handful of schools that is elite in baseball, that baseball is very relevant here. But it's not, what's the word I'm looking for, Chase? It doesn't become a part of the mainstream conversation really until the middle of March.
Sure. Yeah.
And from
league play starts spring break.
Yeah. And so, the people who go to the games in mid-February when it's 42 degrees.
Hardcores.
Those are, I mean, if we're being honest, that Wednesday night game against ULM in late February, that's not the postcard night for the baseball program, right? So you need we've talked about this so many times. Basketball can't be punted. The fact that you have a great baseball program it's not even a part of this conversation. It's just not. It's not part of the conversation. It's not a negative or a positive. It's just not there. It's not relevant. Any more than having a great baseball program means that you could punt on football. It's good. You have it. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. You got to have basketball too. It's got to be more relevant. You built that arena. Should you have built the arena? There are people out there that you shouldn't have. Well, you did. So you got to figure it out. And so at the end of this season, if it goes badly, yes, you have to make a change. There, I said it.
Sure.
Probably shouldn't. I've got to cover the staff, 20 more games. But I think my reputation is be honest. And so that's what I'll be. And
it's not exactly a hot take.
It's not a hot take. If
Ole Miss's net fell to 95 after the loss.
Holy shit, did it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
UNA moved up to 246.
Okay. You look at we've talked about this. The first handful, they play Tennessee on Wednesday.
They do. And then they're at Alabama.
At Mississippi State.
They get
Auburn at home. And then they've got Georgia and South Carolina in some order. And then they go to Arkansas. So that's their first 7 SEC games. 5 of those teams
are very good.
Auburn, 4 of those teams, Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Arkansas all have nets of 17 or better as of yesterday. Maybe that's changed. It hadn't
And
changed.
Auburn's was 30, I think.
Yeah, and so let's say they go 2-5 out of the gate. It's over. It's done. 2 reasons. One, that arena will be a funeral. And you can't keep sitting in that. And I'm not saying Keith does this because I don't think he does. In fact, I would be willing to bet any amount of money that he doesn't. I don't think he sits there and goes, that's okay. It's just basketball. To me, there's a 0% chance, literally 0, that Keith Carter thinks about that way. It's no.
It's probably eating his soul alive, actually, is more relevant.
I suspect sitting in that building, watching them lose to UCF, watching them lose to UNA in front of 2,000 people that are there to pet the goats is probably something that eats away at his stomach.
And I don't guess he was even there because I think he was at Leach's memorial.
Good.
So, but yes, I understand what you mean.
But you get my point. And so when he and Alan Green and people sit down, yes, there's a financial conversation, but there's a conversation that goes beyond financial. But you know where I'm going with this. The minute that you move on from Kermit Davis, whether it's this year or next year or the year after that, the minute that you move on from him, it's not his fault anymore. Who can you go get and how can you go attract a better coach? This was my point.
And set them up for success.
Yes, you've got to be laying the groundwork for that now. To go out into the coaching market and go, if you come here, we have this for NIL. We can do this, we can do this, we can do this. Is it to a place where Kermit's probably lost the public trust? You're probably getting really close to that place.
Yeah, sure.
To where you can't get people to donate NIL money because they think, well, they don't evaluate players correctly. Is that possible? Sure. My point in 10 Thoughts that I apparently did not write well is that it is more nuanced than just, hey, let's go hire a new coach and it will all be better. Because look, Andy Kennedy was a good coach. He's doing a really good job at UAB. Kermit's a good coach. He did a really good job at Middle Tennessee. You can go get the young up-and-coming coach, but you got to give him the tools to compete in this league. You can go get the seasoned veteran who's been in the league, who's got some battle scars. I had a coach tell me the other night, hey, that's what Ole Miss should do. Ole Miss needs to go get, I talked to a basketball coach that I know, who said Ole Miss should go get the battle-scarred guy who knows how to deal with SEC expectations, knows how to deal with SEC recruiting. And I said, okay, cool, but you got to give him the weapons to fight that battle, right? And he goes, oh, you absolutely do.
Yeah, he can have a pocket knife.
He can't show up, even with the battle scars, as this guy that's been through the ring, and you're like, okay, this is a machine gun fight. Here's a water gun. Good luck. Nah, you're going to lose. So that's the point. If there is a benefit to losing to UCF and losing to UNA, if we're being honest, is that I think it forces Keith and the people around Keith to say, hey, back channels or in our rooms, we need to start talking about this.
Yeah,
we're probably going to have to evaluate this in a way that, because I think Keith, I don't think this is talking out of. I think I'm right here too. Keith very much would love for Kermit to win.
Oh, sure, and I would be stunned, stunned, if Keith did anything prior to the season ending. There's no reason it's not happening.
No, God, no.
Yeah.
Stop.
So everybody, they're going to play the games, guys.
Stop.
They're going to play 18 conference games, and we're going to get a record at the end of them, and we'll see what happens.
No, God, no. That
You're
would
not
be
firing anybody right now.
No.
And not because baseball went on a run, just because there's no reason to.
No. It's two different stories.
Yeah, those are not comparable either. I've had to go, hey, what?
No.
Ole Miss was ranked number 1 in the country in baseball. That's not the same
Well,
thing.
and you could look at Ole Miss's baseball team and
They
see the pieces.
Yeah.
You look at Ole Miss's basketball team, and they don't have enough guys who can score.
No, I mean, Kermit gave the quote, which, I mean, he was honest. I guess credit there. But from a standpoint of when he's being nitpicked because they're losing games, and I mean, everybody understands that. That's not any kind of that's the world you live in right now. But I mean, these quotes are just bad. Anytime I turned on the tape, they had a great physicalness and presence about them. It was no different today. We couldn't stop dribble penetration, and that's what got us in the end. Not a great game day practice today, meaning shoot around. So you could see it coming. I take full responsibility, but give North Alabama credit. North Alabama lost to Valley, and that's their one win. Valley's 1-12, or whatever they are. I didn't think our ball movement was great. Where is that quote I was looking for? We've got to find another couple of 3-point shooters. We're still trying to find our way. I mean, your roster is your roster.
Yeah, it's Christmas. You're not going to find them now.
Yeah, I mean, you have what you have.
You don't have this is 2 years in a row, maybe 3 years in a row, I lose track. They just don't have shooters. And if you don't have shooters, you have to have guys who are just explosive to the rim. And you've got to have multiple guys who can really defend. And you've got to be able to crash the boards, and you've got to be able to score. You've got to be able to score. It's basketball. Ball has to go through the net. Period. But you really need to be able to space the floor in the modern game. And to do that, you have to have shooters. And if you don't have them, you get this really super thin margin for error. And we talked about this before the year. It was my concern. People asked me, maybe I should have written it. I could have been totally transparent. It just would have not been the most politically correct thing to write. Why aren't you doing the preseason basketball the way other sites are doing? It's the question I got multiple times. And my answer was, because what if they're not good? Because the preseason hype machine built this team up to be something that I feared it couldn't be. I looked at them and I said, where are the shooters?
They were 5 of 17 from the 3 line and 12 of 19 from the stripe.
5 of 17 from 3. That's what, 30, 28, 29, 30%?
And Ruffin went 2 for 4. So, 3 for 13 outside of him.
So it's that deal when Matt Morrell's not at the top of his game.
And he was fine. He didn't have a bad day. He's 16 points, 4 of 10 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 7 of 9 from the free throw line. It's fine.
So he was kind of near the top of his game, and you still lose to North Alabama.
Yeah, he played 36 minutes.
And who knows? Maybe they show up and knock off Tennessee next Wednesday. My point is for them to win those games, 2 things have to happen. The other team has to play below its capabilities, and then you have to play really high level, night in and night out, in a grinding sort of a league. Because you look at these teams that are really good. Tennessee's really good. Alabama's really, really good. Really good. Arkansas's really talented. I don't know how good they're going to be. I wonder if they have enough outside shooting, but they've got cats who can get to the rim. They've got elite players. Kentucky's going to be really good. Auburn's good and has a chance to be really good. It feels like Mississippi State's really good. You play those teams are going to lose games in the league because it's a grind. Because on a Tuesday, you just don't answer the bell. The bell rings and you just don't answer it. That happens. It's going to happen to every one of those teams. It's going to happen to you too. You're not going to play at the top of your level for 18 games. And so when you don't, you have no shot. I just don't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. When you go to the game, how many people are going to be at the game on Wednesday?
I don't know, because the bowl game's in 4 hours.
I mean, show up. And people are going to say, well, that's an excuse, and this is an excuse. At some point, you either have a product that people go to or you don't. You either have a product that people want to see or you don't. It's not a knock on the people. It's just a reality. And if in the middle of January, when South Carolina comes to town or Georgia comes to town or whatever, it's an SEC game, Chase. And if you're in the arena and there's 2,800 people there, that's failure. That's failure. And at some point in failure, you have to have a meeting that people go, okay, we have to make a change. Whatever that change is. My point is, you can't simply look at it and go, it's the coach. Because it's not that simple. Because it's not like you hired an incompetent guy.
No.
You hired a guy that dominated his league for more than a decade to replace a guy that's gone into a new league and is doing really, really well. So you've had good coaching. That's my point. So somewhere in that meeting, someone in the meeting with Keith and them has to go, hey, this can't be as simple as addressing a coaching deal. We've got to make sure that whoever comes in, we give them more tools.
Yeah. Neal mentioned him earlier in the show. Ole Miss hires Alan Green, the former Auburn athletics director, as its basically new number 2 in the athletics department, who will run the football program for the most part, and then assist Keith with all other athletic department measures there. StoryRebelgrove.com, obviously, they've got their release as well. But Alan, former AD at Auburn, obviously ran into a lot of trouble through that Brian Harsin deal, and then the AD at Buffalo. I guess he went up there with Danny White, if I have that timeline correct. He was at Ole Miss prior to that in an admin role and loyalty foundation roles at different points. He was part of that staff at Ole Miss that you look back, and it had Keith, Danny, Hartwell, and Alan Green all under Pete Boone there at the end of that tenure.
I think this is terrific for Keith.
Yes,
to get somebody with AD experience to come in and be a voice. Keith, not only are they good friends, but Keith trusts him.
Yeah.
And so I think that's good. It's always good to have a sounding board who can also take some of the load off of you. Because these are big decisions when these kind of decisions roll around.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's nice.
Sit around the table and roll up the sleeves and go, hey, what do we think?
Well, to have somebody who's not a yes man who will tell you, hey, here's what I think. You know, the final say is, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Like, I use Saban as the best analogy. Talk to anybody who's ever been around Saban. They'll tell you that their meetings and stuff, he listens.
Mm-hmm.
He wants you to express an opinion. Now, at the end of the day, he's going to make a decision, and by God, that's the decision. And you are to get in lockstep at that point. But he does listen. He hires people who will express opinions.
Yeah. Alan played baseball at Notre Dame, graduate of the Fighting Irish, and anyway, from Seattle originally. From Washington. Anyway.
So, you know, that's where that is. And look, it sucks. I mean, I'm sure someone will listen to it. The basketball thing.
Oh, sorry,
not Alan.
I was like,
no, I'm back to basketball. So, Alan, and you're listening. It's great that Ole Miss hired out. That's a home run. That's a home run. That's a 3-pointer.
Okay.
The basketball thing, I'm just thinking of a stream of consciousness. The basketball thing sucks. I hate having this conversation on December the 22nd. That sucks. Sucks because I like the people. I like Kermit. I like Case. I like those people. I don't wish this
We
on
need
anyone.
basketball to be very competitive through whatever.
I like basketball.
Yeah. I
like covering the tournament. It's one of my favorite things. I've said this for a long time. I love going to the tournament. It's just fun. I don't know why. I like it. I'd love it if they were a top 15 team.
Yeah.
And we spent March talking about seedings.
Yeah.
Brackets, draws.
People love brackets.
I love the tournament. I'd love to go to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
It's fun. Those games are awesome, man. Probably like going to Omaha.
Yeah.
Those games are awesome. I mean, you show up for one of those games, and as the game goes on, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, we're getting there.
Last 5 minutes.
I've covered an Elite Eight game. Those games are awesome. I mean, every basket matters. Every fan in the stands is locked in because the winner goes to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool. I don't want to cover a basketball season where it's irrelevant on January the 21st. I mean, you know what I mean? I'd love to make the trip to Fayetteville to cover a meaningful basketball game. It'd be fun. Where you're got a chance to win, and if you win, you're like, oh, what does this mean for tournament ramifications down the road? That's what's fun to cover. If you want some insight into how we think about it, I don't want to cover 4 and 14 in the league where you're going to Nashville only because there's a chance that the coach is getting fired.
Sure.
Or the coach is going to retire or resign or whatever the case may be. But you're not going to cover anything, and you're at the what is it, Wednesday night game when there's like 12 people in the arena and you can hear conversations in the upper deck.
11, 14, 12, 13.
When those games suck. I like going to the SEC tournament and covering the semifinal.
Yeah.
I love the quarterfinal round. The 4 games, 8 good teams. That's fun, man. That's the stuff I enjoy covering. So when you're covering a team that's nowhere near that conversation, frankly, it's kind of boring and it can be kind of depressing almost.
Yeah, it is.
You're writing stuff.
It's a long season.
It becomes a really long season. I'm writing stuff and I'm talking to myself as I write and going, no one's going to read this. No one's going to read this. an 8 o'clock game. You're like, why am I even here? And you're writing at 11 o'clock going, no one is reading this. I'm writing something at 11:30 tonight. I'm going to be exhausted tomorrow, and no one's going to read a word of it. Well, no one wants to write a bunch of stuff that no one's going to read. You want to write stuff that people are going to read that's natural.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Anyway, that's the insight into what we think about it.
Austin's asked a couple times as we get ready to close, your favorite Office Christmas episode, Mr. McCready.
Oh, I watched it in the plane yesterday. It's the Benihana Christmas.
Oh, that is good.
It's so good.
I haven't seen all of them because I've never finished the show.
It's so good. It's where, spoiler alert.
So you're still watching The Office all the time?
I just wanted something light and funny.
And it fits.
And it was on my plane. And so I watched it. It's where Michael is. Because one of the parts about Michael's character is he's so desperate to get married.
Sure.
He wants a family so bad. And he's just can't. He comes across as desperate. And so do you remember this one? He'd been dating this woman, Karen.
Yeah.
And so he gave her a Christmas card where she had just gotten divorced. And 2 years earlier, she and her ex-husband and their 2 kids went on a ski trip. And he took the picture and put his face over the ex-husband's face. And she shows up like, what is this? And you're watching it going, oh my God, so cringe. And he'd already bought 2 tickets for like 2 days later for them to go to Sandals in Jamaica. And so she breaks up with him. Andy takes him to Benihana, and they hit on the Benihana waitresses, invite them to the Christmas party, and they're having dueling Christmas parties because Angela's having her party.
That's right.
And Pam and Jim's current girlfriend are having a Christmas party, and they're having the dueling Christmas parties. They bring them in, and he can't distinguish. It's like 2 Asian girls, and he can't distinguish between the 2. And so he puts a magic mark, it's like a Sharpie mark on her arm.
No prayer of getting made today. No prayer.
No chance. I thought about that.
No chance in hell.
No chance in today's political environment. The people would be so offended by everything.
Yeah.
But it was great. I was howling, laughing. I mean, I was having to control myself. It was because I'd forgotten about Benihana Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't usually go back that far. That's like season 4.
Yeah. I only watched through like 5, and I've seen it. So yeah, it's
great. And then he asked the Benihana waitress if she wants to go to Sandals. And of course she doesn't because come on.
Yeah.
And so you see him go back and start going through basically his Rolodex.
To find somebody to go to Sandals.
Well, and he calls his boss and invites her.
Yeah.
And that sets up
That's
more.
right.
The writing on that show, the ability to put something in that show that's entertaining, but that sets up the next show.
Some of the best writing in the world of TV. I mean, we're just kind of going because it's our last show for a while. What makes it so good? We're in the era of prestige TV where good television is better than good movies, period. Because you set up and you have so much time and people would realize that. I mean, we're in the golden era of prestige television. But one of the hardest and best things out there in television is comedies who have great writing that shows you other things. It's not just sitcom funny. It's no. We're pushing here. I mean, in different ways, The Office did that. I mean,
well, even in that show where Pam begins to realize that maybe she made a mistake when she said no to Jim, because now she's helping Jim. Jim's having girl problems with. Why can't I think of her name?
That's what I was trying to help you with, and I was having a hard time.
But he's having girl problems with her, and Pam comes into the room, and she's like, "You want to talk about it?" And so he takes her up on it and talks about it. And he ends up kind of at least temporarily working things out. And she's
Karen, Katie.
Maybe it's Karen or Carol. I don't know. Anyway, she sees them together, and you see her in the office way sobbing. And Dwight, who always comes across as this, nut, stops and sits down with her to comfort her. He says to her, he says, "You're really PMSing bad, aren't you?" It's just a great show. They did such a great job of building characters. And I think that's why people like me go back and watch the show all the time, is because I feel like those people are my friends.
Yeah, it's home. Yeah. No, TV does that. TV does it the way books do it. in different ways, but it's a similar reaction. You don't want it to end because you're comfortable and you're wanting to know what's next.
It was Karen Filippelli.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did such a good job with secondary characters. Brilliant. The show was brilliant.
Went 9 seasons?
9 seasons.
Okay.
And when Michael Scott left,
yeah,
you think it's done. And they actually did really well. But man, back then the Michael Scott stuff was so good. I mean, his character is so cringy. Yet you like him. You cheer for him. You're like, God, wouldn't it be great if he could just find what he's looking for? Wouldn't it be great? I mean, he's just trying so hard.
The Benihana's thing, as you said, it might be a 3 or 4 top cringy moments, and that says something because there's nothing tops Scott's Tides. But
I can't even watch it.
No, it's not watchable. It's literally not watchable.
But Michael gets the picture. He goes to Sandals with
the boss.
The boss. I can't think of her. Jan.
Yeah.
He goes to Sandals with Jan, and he gets this picture of Jan clearly topless, laying on her stomach, and he's got this smile on his face. And he can't stop from, instead of she says, you can't tell anyone. And because he has to tell everyone and he can't help himself.
Yeah.
And the interview where he does with the crew, where he's like, we're just friends. And then he keeps going, sex, because sex.
Yeah.
We had sex. And you're like, dude, stop. It's great.
Oh, the dinner party's good too. That's good. We could stop.
Yeah.
Jan
Levinson Gould. I love, she shows up at the warehouse and he thinks it's because of the picture that he sent out to everybody, because instead of sending it to Packer, he sent it to packaging. He sent it to everybody. She shows up and she goes, my therapist tells me that I should just follow my instincts. And even though you make no sense and you're not good enough, I want to be with you. It's just awesome. I love that show.
Public service announcement. You need to wrap your outside faucets at least tonight. I know you all know that, but I'm going to remind you one more time. So maybe you go do it while you're listening to this here part of the show. I was talking, we're going to get some ridiculous temperatures for our part of the country. I mean, we're talking some wind chills
4
below
degrees
0, 10, 20 negatives on wind chills. I told Neal before the show, I was talking to Michael Katz yesterday, who covers Ole Miss for the Daily Journal. And, he covered Wyoming prior to the Rebels, and a part of the state in Wyoming is getting negative 68 to 70 temperatures, not wind chills, but temperatures. And we were discussing, I mean, you can't go outside at all. Like,
no.
Literally, that's impossible.
You just stay in.
But protecting any outside animals, they were talking about how to do all these things just to try to sort of do the best you can to livestock, animals.
What do they do? They get them in a barn and hope for the best?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure at that level of temperature. I'm not really sure because I know here, the goal was to let them get as close as possible, and they'll use each other's body heat and some of those things. But dude, but get some faucet covers if you don't have them. If you don't have those, wrap your faucets in towels, put some rubber bands around it, then put a plastic bag over it. That's kind of the secondary way to do it, or hell, maybe even the better way to do it than those, depending on what level of good faucet cover you have. But do something so you don't have those issues, because I mean, everybody can joke all whatever, but our infrastructure is not built for this. So do the best you can for it. Just like if Wyoming had 95-degree temperatures and 100% humidity, they would not handle that very well.
It's true.
Do the best you can. Yeah, feed your pets, protect them here as that happens. We'll let you know what's kind of next. This is the last podcast for the week. We're going to take a Christmas break. Obviously, Ole Miss plays the Texas Bowl on December 28th, so we'll give you a better update for that when we know it. But coverage at rebelgrove.com as it is needed there throughout this. So I hope all you guys have a safe, a wonderful Christmas weekend season here. Appreciate all of you that you allow us to do what we do. So thanks for spending your time with us this morning. We will let you know what's going on. Be safe. Have a